All right, so we're about to start, and looks like one of our clients is trying to get in. All right, the volume, I have to raise this up or what? Everything's good? Okay. Just gotta make sure everything is working. So, all right. So, thanks everybody for joining. Thank you again for being super patient with us, and we are ready to rock and roll. So, right now we are going to talk about the top three mistakes that contractors make during a workers' comp audit and how to avoid them and avoiding the extra penalties that come along with it. So let's get started. And let's move forward. So, by the end of this training, you will learn the following is number one, we're going to learn how to track and organize your subcontractors through our Lightspeed subcontractor tracking system. This will help you avoid any additional premium charges with uninsured subcontractors, and we'll be able to explain that later down the road. Second thing we're going to learn is how to correctly classify your 1099 so auditors do not reclassify them as employees and again charge you extra premium for it. And finally, we're going to discuss how payroll and bookkeeping is going to assist you with the proper documentation to avoid those penalties. So stay tuned to the end of our presentation. We will be giving everybody a copy of our audit checklist, also a subcontractor tracking template, and claim we're going to give everybody that stays to the end a bonus for a free audit dispute review. That way, our team can look at your documents, see if we can potentially save you some money. So, who may find this important? Many of you are probably in your first year, 2 years of business, and you got your first year workers' comp policy. And a lot of times it's very, very common that when you buy the first year workers' comp policy, you're probably getting an agent that's just not experienced. They don't really tell you exactly how the audit process works. And because of that, they're not telling you what is the required documents, what is uninsured subcontractors. So no worries. Today we're going to learn exactly what those mistakes will be and how we can solve them, right? So this presentation is mostly for contractors who hire a huge amount of subcontractors or employ 1099 employees. Also, those who are struggling with audits, maybe you don't have the proper documentation, proper systems in place in order to comply with that end of the year workers' comp audit. And any of you guys are just learning new tips or tricks or whatever you need to do to essentially increase your profit margins at the end of the year. Nothing is worse than essentially getting an audit and then complying with that audit and then getting penalized for essentially having additional employees and stuff like that. So we just want to make sure that we increase that profit and we don't kill our margins at the end of the year. So one thing about myself, my name is Mike Ortiz. I am a co-founder of Lightspeed Insurance. I'm also the producing agent here as well. Prior to opening up on our agency, I was a PEO broker. A PEO broker, if you don't know, some of you do, some of you don't. I'm sure you have. It is a payroll workers comp that does not include audits. I dealt with a lot of contractors in my early days, and essentially just really discussing with them their needs and just saw a lot of similar pain points along the way. After I opened up our agency, one of the main things we focused on is providing audit proof solutions. Customer service is also one of our key points that we do here at our agency. We believe in giving elite services because we understand that insurance can be really, really painful and frustrating. So, so we're gonna now get into essentially the presentation, and we're gonna get to it. So, before we do, first, I really want to discuss what is workers' comp, right? Everybody knows that workers' comp is designed to protect the employees. Now, what most people don't know is the only line of insurance that actually is regulated by the state. So the state gets involved if there's an injury, and let's say there's a person that gets hurt and nobody's claiming he's the employee, they will come out there and interview everybody to make sure who that person is. Who is he working for? So it's happened to my client before. It's very frustrating. So UGCs out there, your subcontractors, it could come all the way up to you. So that's very important. Another thing is the state does regulate the class code rates. So everybody in the construction industry is assigned a specific class code, and you're assigned a specific rate. So if you ever shopped around for workers' comp, you would see that everybody has the same quote. The only difference is how the premium is generated, which is the payroll. So it's very common. A lot of agents, what they do is they won't even write it correctly. Let's say that your payroll is estimated to be 100,000, and what the agent does is put 50,000, and then we underbid the payroll. How does that affect it? For obvious reason, the audit confirms that the true payroll is 100,000, and you end up paying a lot more. Also, in that audit process, you have to provide proof of insurance of your subcontractors. This is a key point that we'll be discussing today. And every year there is an annual policy audit. It's a little bit different to other lines of insurance. Other lines of insurance have a different method of doing that audit, right? So, for example, general liability might do just an email with just, hey, fill out this form, just tell us what your revenues are, blah, blah, blah. Quick, easy, simple. Sometimes it's just a phone call. Obviously those are the best. But workers' comp, nope. You got to sign an auditor. That auditor calls you. You have certain amount of weeks to report that actual audit and all your documentation. They do have extensions as well, but it's very important to know that it is every year. So you have to be prepared for this. All right, this right here is the required documents of the audit, right? So we will be giving you at the end of the presentation is the actual audit checklist. And in this audit checklist, you will see that the bulk of the audit is the payroll reports. This is the actual W-2 and 1099 breakdown. Again, this is the bulk of the audit. The second document is the P&L, the profit and loss statement, your financial statements. This is a required document. Now, if you don't have it, they will accept bank statements. And one thing I can tell you is they hate bank statements. Who wouldn't? Reviewing 12 months of bank statements and reviewing all the transaction, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Third would be the 941s and the RT6. These are quarterly tax filings. Now, this is document is going to show itemized your W-2s and your 1099s. This allows the auditor to determine what is your true payroll for W-2s and what is your 1099s. And then after that, they're going to ask you for a list of all your employees, your subcontractors, and your 1099s that's performing work under you. So that is one of the documents that we will be providing at the end of this webinar. We will be providing that subcontractor tracking template, and we're gonna show you exactly what it consists of, and it's gonna allow you to organize that and be prepared for that audit. And then the final is proof of insurance of your subcontractors. This is super important. Is having the certificate of insurance of your subcontractors or a valid workers' comp exemption. Keep in mind that a valid exemption is an owner only, or he owns at least 10% of the company and has a filed exemption with the state. If he has employees, if he has just one, all of you know in construction, if you have at least one employee, you have to have workers' comp. So, and next one, please. Okay, and then we have here. Okay, so why is it crucial to be prepared for an audit? For obvious reasons, right? We want to avoid the penalties at the end of the year. Being prepared just allows you to just have everything ready, have everything presented to the auditor, and essentially just knowing what your cost is, what your total premium will be, and not knowing what it expected amount should be at the end of the year, right? So again, going back to the example, if your payroll, if you're quoted at 100,000, but your payroll jumps up to 200,000, that extra payroll, you're going to owe premium for that, right? So being prepared at least allows you to understand what that cost is. Now, another thing would be it's a good reflection of your professionalism. Why is this important? Well, if you're bidding for big government contracts or you're bidding for jobs for a big general contract, well, they want to know how reliable you are, right? They want to see that you have consistent workers' comp history, right? If you're a contractor for 10 years and you have 10 years of consistent coverage, it just shows that you have great system in place, you're complying with the audits, and you're paying your bills on time. If you have workers' comp and it's scattered month to month, year to year, which is very common as well, where sometimes we live on a per project basis, it just does not look good. So very key. It just makes you look more professional. Also, for bidding bonds, if you need to take out a bond, they will require you to have financial statements. So having those financial states are super important. And lastly, peace of mind. Everybody hates audits. The word audit just generates panic. The idea of hearing it just makes me sweat. So just the idea of being prepared, either with accountant, bookkeeper, or if you just have those fundamentals in place, you're going to just have that peace of mind when you get that notification from the carrier. You're just going to be prepared and you're not going to worry about the end results. Right? Okay, so now we're going to get to the bulk of stuff. Why are we here? This is it. The top three mistakes that contractors make during a workers' comp audit. These are many, many of the issues that I had seen throughout my 8 years of experience in this business. And these are the top three common mistakes that I see contractors make. So, number one is missing certificates. I cannot tell you how frustrating it can be when a contractor is not collecting those certificate of insurances. It's very common in this business, especially first 2 years. You're dealing with friends, partners that you trust them, and you're not collecting the certificates, or maybe you just don't really care too much about it. But if most of you guys that have a license, you know that this is part of your license requirement is to have this process, right? Collecting the certificate of insurance. So I'm going to give you a good example of one of our clients that about 2 years ago, she came in during the holidays. She just got an audit bill of $100,000. She was actually supposed to pay around 50,000, and she got this unexpected bill of total 100,000. So imagine in the holidays and getting a big fat bill like that, and just I can't imagine the stress that she must have felt. So she got canceled, and she was shopping around. And in that moment when they were shopping around, she contacted us, and we were able to, hey, listen, let's take a quick look at this. And let's take a quick look at it. We had our accounting team look at it. We reviewed the audit summary, and we were able to find a few things. The main issue that she had was two things. She had not collected the certificate of insurance. So she did not collect the certificate of insurance, and because of that, all these subcontractors were being billed as, billable premium. They're uninsured subcontractors. And yes, if you don't collect it and you don't prove it, they're going to count that towards your premium. Why is that? Main reason is again, the state regulates this, and what they say is that everybody at the job site must be covered. So somebody has to foot the bill. So again, in this moment, she had to foot the bill. The second thing that we discovered was her labor cost and equipment costs were both bundled together. So what she did was highways construction, and she was buying some kind of tractor. I forgot what the equipment was, but the guy was also renting it and also was providing the labor of the equipment. So when he was invoicing her, he was actually invoicing her that total cost. And what happened was the auditor bundled it together and then charged them premium. So, so what we did and what Lightspeed did, first and foremost, we gave her the subcontractor template. Hey, organize everything for us. right? We gave her the template, and in there, she did that. And then what we did was track all the certificate of insurances of all the subcontractors that actually had the policies. We were able to show the auditor that, some of these were actually insured, some of them, a lot of them weren't, but that's okay. It happens, right? The next thing we did was register the subcontractor tracking system. So what we did with that, we just allowed her to monitor and track all their subcontractors. And what that tracking system does, if there's any changes to their subcontractors' insurance policies or their workers' comp exemption, she gets an instant notification of that. Right. The last thing that's not included is the bonus was the labor costs. We actually were able to get the invoices that she paid from the equipment company that itemized the actual equipment and the cost of labor. We were able to separate the two and show the auditor, hey, that the labor was included in this total invoice and the actual invoice was actually a lot less. So at the end, we were able to save her $50,000. She was super happy, great Christmas, and to this day she loves me. So it's great. All right. So here is a copy of the audit checklist. This is the checklist that we're providing everyone that joins our webinar today. If you don't get it, please send us over. We want to make sure that everybody has it. Just send a quick message, call them. Hey, I didn't get the audit checklist. No worries. We make sure anybody that is a Lightspeed client gets one of these. Second thing, this is a sample of the subcontractor tracking template. Now here you can see there's a few categories, right? It says here subcontractor name of business, but really this is listing all your employees, all your 1099s, and all your subcontractors. Then you're going to include the weekly pay, contact name, right? The name of the business owner or whoever handles that kind of stuff, their contact info, and the services provided, which is super, super important. We need to know what they're doing, right? Because every subcontractor is not the same. You might hire an electrical, you might hire a plumbing, you might have HVAC. These things are different rates, right? If you hire someone that does structural framing, that's almost a 9% rate. But if you hire someone that's doing electrical, it's about a 3% rate. So imagine if you have to itemize that so the auditor knows the difference. And then lastly, I'm sorry, let me go back real quick. And then lastly, we have some check marks here that allows you or one of your team members to really just document if you're collecting the certificate of insurance. So you'll see here, general liability, you collected it. The workers' comp, you collected it. Check, check. Workers' comp exemption, checked off as well. And then if you enter them into the tracking system. So this allows you to be a little more organized so you won't, so at the end of the year, you have everything structured and you can present it to the auditor. Okay. All right. So final thoughts is document your staff using our subcontractor tracking template. It is designed to make things a lot easier for you guys. And then the next thing is collect the certificate of insurances from all your subs. In fact, you should collect it before you pay them. There's so many. This is a bonus tip that's outside of the three, but a lot. It's very common sometimes. You're working with friends or whatever the situation is. You pay them, and then you ask them, "Hey, I didn't get a copy of your workers' comp. I'm going through an audit. Can you provide it to me?" He's like, "I don't have it." Whoops. Well, guess what? You have to pay premium for it. So always, always collect it first, then pay them. Because sometimes it also happens with any contractor, right? We play the good faith game. They start working, and then you're just like, hey, I need the workers' comp. And then you pay them, and then you collect the certificate later, and then he doesn't have it, and then at the end you're exposed for that liability and for that penalty. And then lastly is use Lightspeed subcontractor tracking system. This is going to allow you to be on top of all your subcontractors. So if you have subs and you use the tracking system, you get that notification, you will be able to respond appropriately. So hypothetically, let's say that you have a 6-month project, you have a bunch of subs out there, and then midterm, one of these subs policy gets canceled, non-renewed, he forgets to make a payment. So he has the remaining 6 months that he's not has workers' comp. And this is dangerous not just for penalties, but for liability purposes. So it's super important. And again, this tracking system is free. We don't charge for this. It's included. You can book a demo with us at the end. so we can show you or ask for our mini course. I have a mini course that I developed that allows you to learn how to register, how to enter your subcontractors into the system, and what to do when you get an email notification. So these are super important. All right, so let's get to number two. All right, number two is misclassifying 1099s. I cannot reiterate how often this happens. It's very common that accountants advise their clients to pay their employees as 1099, and for obvious reasons, right? They're trying to save money on employer matching taxes, right? So what the issue is with that is that in the state of Florida, there is a certain classification for 1099s. So I have a sample story here, but in in reality, I think 8 out of 10 contractors do this on the first 2 years. And again, for obvious reasons. In the beginning, we're very concerned about cash flow, building business, building contracts, getting money in. So we're trying to avoid our expenses. So I completely get it. I get that. But however, if you get workers' comp, the audit's going to first they're going to classify that as W-2s, and then you're going to owe premium. And not to mention you will get canceled for having uninsured 1099s. So what is exactly a 1099? So a 1099 is a registered business, LLC, S corp, corporation. He has that registered. Second would be maintaining their own liability coverage, general liability, workers' comp insurance, or a valid exemption. They also utilize their own tools or equipment. So technically speaking, if you gave them the tools and equipment, they may not be considered 1099s. They may be considered your employees. They also manage their own work schedule. So if you tell them, hey, show up at 9 and work till 5, then technically he's your employee. Now, if he's truly an independent, then you set the project date, 3 months or whatever. He comes whenever the hell he wants because he has 3 months to complete the project. And then finally, they have their own business bank account and handle their own tax filings. Now, when it comes to the audit, I'll tell you this right now, they only care about the registered business and proof of insurance. That's it. All the other stuff is more of an IRS code thing. So, you know, I wouldn't be too concerned about all that stuff, but it's really just the primary two things, registered business and the proof of insurance, right? Mhm. All right. So, what did we discover in this audit? The auditor confirmed that the 1099s were not true subcontractors. So he had a bunch of uninsured 1099s working at the job site. And again, they did not have the proof of insurance of these subcontractors, and this resulted in additional premiums. So how did Lightspeed help? First and foremost, we gave them the subcontractor tracking template to organize the list of employees. So you're going to see that's very common with us is that subcontracting template. It's just such a critical starting point that allows us to strategize, allow us to know what to do next. So for example, if we have W-2 employees, we have subcontractors and a bunch of 1099s, the next step we're going to do is we're going to convert the uninsured 1099s either to a W-2 or we're going to help them register the business and file an exemption so they can be truly classified as a subcontractor. Final thoughts: misclassifying 1099s can lead to additional billable premium. So again, if you have a bunch of uninsured 1099s, that will lead to extra premium. All that payroll for those guys will cost you. And then the carrier is going to cancel you. So just please, when it comes to workers' comp, there are limited markets. I'm sure a lot of you here have experienced the frustration of buying that policy, right? You just shop around. People just don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to quote it. Then you get an agent that does quote it but doesn't tell you anything. But as an experienced agent, I can tell you right now, if you burn a bridge, it's going to be harder to find the next one. And in fact, we may end up going to what's called a PEO policy. I'm sure some of you guys heard of it, And then we end up going at a higher cost with limited coverages. We don't want to be in that position. It's a great policy, a great starter, and I'll get into that later, but we don't want that because then we digress and then we have a limited coverage and higher cost, right? So now going to the third and common mistake is paying in cash. You know, we're in the business of just paying people in cash, issuing our own checks. We're not documenting anything. We're not updating our books. So what we would want to do is get a payroll system in place. I cannot reiterate this enough. We had discussed that is the bulk of the audit is the payroll. And then the required document of the financial statements is the bookkeeping services. So it's very common our contractors is paying cash and they're paying them. It's, they're doing Zelle transfers, they're withdrawing money and then paying them cash. And these can be a huge issue, right? So what do we find on the audits is when you do cash payments, or do withdrawals, cash withdrawals, these are undisputable acts. An auditor cannot confirm what you did with that money and it will be classified as payroll. So anytime you sell somebody, it happens. I get it. Maybe, you're just using that bank account as your personal because, you're the business owner. You don't have the money there. You're not paying yourself. Then somebody asks you for money, or for example, you withdraw the money. These little moments are going to cost you premium. So it's very, very common that this occurs, right? And then second is the financial statements. It's a required document. So in the first 2 years, most people don't even think about this, reconciling all these transactions, right? There's nothing more frustrating than to get this audit and being like, I got to reconcile 12 months of bank statements, right? So you have the financial statements available. And it's good habit to have this available because you can make better decisions. You can see where all your money is going, right? And then the payroll reports. This is very super important. As I said before, it is the bulk of the audit. So having a payroll system in place, W-2 employees, 1099 subcontractors, you have that all organized in a system that has everything broken down, right? So how does Lightspeed help in this situation? We register clients into our payroll platform. Now, why is this good that we do this? Because we can monitor this on a quarterly basis. We can see where how much your payroll is growing. So again, going back, if you got quoted for 100,000, but you start winning contracts in Q2, and then payroll jumps up already to 100,000. Well, our payroll team allows us to determine, okay, hey, listen, hey, John, your payroll is at already at 100,000. What do you want us to do? Or we predict it early on. We see that payroll is increasing and we're projecting that we're going to hit 200,000. So there's two things we can do. We can pay the bill at the end of the year. It's up to you. No problem. Or or we can pay it at the end of the year, or we can have the carrier modify the premium. So we pay it monthly in advance. It really just depends on how you like it. Every contractor is the same, right? And then we register them to our bookkeeping services. Well, we register them to QuickBook and the bookkeeping services, and we did a lot of the reconciling the transactions, payments, and then we can have the financial statements. Again, you don't have to do it with us. We're just offering those services. But if you do have it, it's very, very important to reconcile it on a monthly basis. And what we do is, again, we do quarterly reviews of the payroll records and project, and it allows us to project that annual premium. So let's quickly recap and how to avoid these penalties. First and foremost, we got to collect the certificate of insurance. That is number one. Again, collect it before you pay them. Key number one. Second is we want to classify them correctly. Be aware of the implications and what may happen if we have uninsured subcontractors. We do not want to lose our policy. We want to be compliant and we want to make sure we're doing everything correctly. And then finally, maintaining the payroll records and financial books, making sure that they're all up to date. let's make sure that we have that peace in mind that we have everything ready for that audit. Okay. And for most of you is this is pretty much the end of the top three. Now, if you want to stay, that's totally up to you. If you're interested in our services, if you like what Lightspeed does, if you like what you hear, again, we specialize in construction. This is all we do. And if you want the services and you want a new agent, then these are the steps that we would do next. So the first thing and foremost, if you're up for renewal, you can either buy a new policy with us, or you can what's called an AOR, which is the agent of record change. An agent of record change will just say essentially that, hey, I'm changing this agent for Lightspeed agent. And by making that switch over, now we become the agent of records. So yes, we would need to be a client. You need to be a client of ours for us to provide services. Again, you still get the free template, the audit checklist. If you might like your agent, have a long time relationship with them, that's cool. That's fine. I have no issues with that. But if you're looking for a true professional, then of course we'll be looking forward to that. Second thing is, if you have your financial statements, please provide us to us. It gives us a better indication where you guys are at, how the premium is generated, and if we need to quote it correctly. Third would be provide us a list of all your employees and 1099s, including your W-2s and subcontractors. Again, we're providing you that document. Fill it out, schedule a demo with us, and we can review it. We can make sure that they have the proper insurance or exemption. They're in the tracking system, and we also make sure if there's uninsured 1099s, what can we do to respond? Like we discussed earlier, we can turn them to a W-2, or we can register their business and file an exemption or get a policy, whichever of the two. And then finally, again we'll sign you up to the tracking system. That way, that you don't have to worry about uninsured subcontractors and being exposed. Again, it's an easy process. We can give you the demo or the mini course, whichever you prefer. No problem. Okay. All right, and these are some of the packages that we provide other than just the workers' comp. So our audit proof packages are designed to make your life easier. So the first package we have is a no audit PEO policy. This is to avoid the annual audits. Again, some of you might know. If you don't know, PEO policies is a professional employer organization. It is a leasing policy that you get a co-employment relationship with the PEO, meaning you lease the employees to them, they lease it right back to you. They run payroll, they provide workers' comp, and they do the quarterly filings, the end of year W-2s, they do all that stuff. And then the beauty about that is that they don't have an audit at the end of the year. So if you hate audits and you just don't want to deal with it, then I recommend using this policy. The only restriction for that is that it only covers W-2 employees. So if you could book a demo with us and you're interested in that, hey, listen, I want to I want to look at this no audit PEO policy. We have PEO specialists that can take that call. Again, I was started in the PEO industry, so my team is fully aware how they work, the liability, the pricing, the cost, all that great stuff. Now, the second package is called the Audit Shield. This is designed to protect your annual audits through payroll and bookkeeping services. So what we can do, we can either do either or. You don't have to buy both packages. Maybe you have a good accountant, right? And you just need payroll. We can do payroll by itself. Or maybe you have payroll, but you want bookkeeping services. Again, the key point is that because we have this and we're providing these services, we're able to make better decisions on what to do next with your insurance, right? And then we're also protecting your audit. We have everything compiled, we have everything ready, we communicate with the carrier, we handle all that stuff for you. We make your life easy. Now, the workers' comp is not included in this one. That's sold separately, but that is a traditional policy, meaning it's a blanket coverage, where the PEO policy only covers W-2s. A traditional policy covers everybody. So you're getting an upgrade there. This is the ideal spot you want to be in. This is what I recommend. Most of you guys are in year two, year three. and you're realizing, damn, I just paid a lot of money on the audit. I really do need bookkeeping. I really do need payroll. Please invest in it. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And then our final package is the audit proof package. This is when you're ready to take the next step, right? This next step is where you get a full-time virtual executive assistant. So we have a partnership through an outsourcing company that provides fully trained virtual assistants. So what does that mean? They actually perform the 2 weeks training of them to run QuickBooks, to do all your reconciling all your payments. They do payroll. So if you do it old way, you have your own payroll system. They can run it, they can track it, they can do the subs. They also do the subcontractor tracking system. So they'll be trained on that as well. So if they get the email notification, they'll call the subcontractor, say, hey, your policy got expired. They also do invoicing. They do bids. They'll look for more contracts with other GCs and stuff like that. So they are an executive assistant, and this I'll tell you is fantastic. The team leader, the senior, is great. She is more of the data analysis. She'll be able to get the data that you're getting and create spreadsheets that allow you to make better decisions. So this package is fantastic, especially if you're looking for that assistance. And we all know as business owners, we're overwhelmed. We're wearing all the hats. We're doing everything, marketing, getting new business, not to mention building homes, and you need somebody that it can do it, but you don't want to train them. You don't want to do it, so you end up hiring a family member. Maybe your daughter does it, stuff like that, or maybe your wife does it. This is a fantastic solution for everybody. And since you made it this far, you get 50% discount on the origination fee of the audit proof packages. Just use the code audit proof with your broker, and he'll deduct half of that price. And when you call us, we'll give you the full price. We'll break everything down. And again, 50% discount on that origination fee. So book your demo with us today. We have our phone number here, our website. If you want to check us out, give us a call, schedule a time. We'll love to sit with you and go over everything. Thank you for joining and have a great day. And then if you have any questions, comment below, and that way we can respond to whatever questions you might have. Thank you so much. Okay. Say that one more time. The QuickBooks statements. Okay, what kind of statements are they? So I would recommend, again, I'm not the lead accountant. I do the agency. I write the actual insurance plans. But what we can do with that is, again, book a demo. I have the lead accountant that they can go over the audit process with you and break out these statements, and exactly. She does audits all day long, so she can answer those questions. The certs. So if you don't hear that, the question was is how do you track the certs? Again, the tracking system allows us to track those certificates. But if you can't, there is the proof of coverage page that you can go to. So let's say you go through the audit and you're trying to go back in time to really see if your subcontractors have insurance. On the state website is the proof of coverage page. Could we include that in the comment section, the proof of coverage page? Okay, we'll include that in the comment section is the actual proof of coverage page. In there, all you have to put is either a business name or the FEI number, the tax ID number, or the name of the owner, and it'll automatically show the dates that they actually have coverage. So you'll be able to determine if they had it prior. That shouldn't be an issue. Okay, that's unfortunately that's all we have right now. Thank you so much and have a great day.